Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be discussing a very unexpected piece of drama that occurred over the weekend involving console Fortnite. As I'm sure most of you guys are aware of, since it was a pretty big deal and heavily discussed, the upcoming Duos FNCS is going to have two separate events, one for PC players and one for console plus mobile players, and both of those are going to have a totally equal prize pool. Although a lot of people would disagree, I think that's a really good thing for Fortnite, but that's also not what we're here to discuss. So even though the FNCS doesn't actually start until next week, Fortnite hosted a practice event over the weekend that had the same exact scoring format and multi-round qualification process as the real thing. And since there really haven't been any serious online competitive events in a while, it was clear from the very beginning that this warm-up was going to be taken pretty seriously by the top players. So in the days leading up to this FNCS practice, I was super intrigued to see what console players were going to perform well and win each of the regions. However, I was about to learn very quickly that only focusing on console players was a major mistake because I wasn't even considering the mobile players. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so when it was announced that console plus mobile would get their own FNCS, I have a feeling the vast majority of you guys just totally ignored the whole mobile part. I mean, you know how PC players kind of look down on console players and think they're all bots? That's kinda how I imagine most console players look at mobile players. And to be fair, mobile has a very wide range of players, a large percentage of which are very casual. I mean, during the peak of Fortnite's popularity, my little sister even started playing the game on her phone for a few weeks. So fair or not, you can kinda understand why mobile doesn't really have the best reputation. But a few days before the warm-up event started, I began to see some really interesting tweets that kinda piqued my interest. The first was from Bizik, and he simply tweeted, "Should we be scared of the mobile players?" And at first, I kinda thought he was joking with that tweet, but then I clicked on the replies just to see what people were saying. And I did see a lot of replies that said things like, "No, LOL, mobile players are horrible," but as I scrolled down, I started seeing players mention some of the advantages that mobile players had, and along the same lines, I saw some warnings that basically said, don't sleep on the top mobile players because they're just as good as the top console players. So that definitely opened my eyes a little bit, but I was still definitely kinda skeptical, and at this point, I still totally expected console players to dominate as a whole. But then, 2 days later, I saw another tweet from Bizik, and this one was a lot more straightforward than the first one. He said, "Epic shouldn't have mixed console and mobile, they have 120 FPS, we have 60 FPS, where is the logic?" So this tweet seemed pretty serious, and it points out one of the most interesting aspects of the console versus mobile debate, the FPS difference. It may be a surprise to some people if you didn't read it in the patch notes, but maybe 1 to 2 months ago, Fortnite on mobile actually gained the ability to be played at up to 120 FPS. Now this doesn't apply to every mobile device, I'm about 99% sure you're not going to get anywhere near 120 if you hop on your iPhone, but if you play on the iPad Pro, you'll actually get double the FPS of an Xbox or PS4. And apparently, as soon as that happened, every competitive mobile player that wasn't already playing on an iPad Pro made sure to go out and get one. Also, at almost the exact same time that Bizik made that second tweet, there was some really interesting drama going down related to this whole console versus mobile situation. Now, I want to preface this by saying that based on what I've seen from both sides, what I'm about to show you guys was kinda blown out of proportion. So this image was originally tweeted out by a mobile player, but what really gave it attention was when the Fortnite guy tweeted it. Basically, what you're seeing is a conversation from one of the top console scrim discords that were running practice scrims for the Duos FNCS. And even though, like I said, this was probably blown out of proportion a bit, and I'll explain why in a second, you can kinda see how this created drama if if you didn't really have a deep understanding of the situation. Merc and Cartoon, who's one of the top earning console players, basically asked the server to vote if they think mobile players should be allowed to stay or kicked, and then he says that due to the vote they'll start to get purged, which basically means kicked. Now, according to multiple people in the Discord, when they did this, they only kicked the mobile players that were griefing the scrims by not following the rules, and since the people who said that are trustworthy, I see no reason not to buy that explanation. However, fair or unfair, this added even more fire to the console versus mobile drama that had seemingly popped up out of nowhere. So the stage had been set, and it was finally time to see what happened in the FNCS warm-up. Would console players dominate? Would mobile players dominate? Or would it be something in between that? Well, let's take a look. I'm mainly going to be focusing on the following 3 regions since I believe they're the 3 most popular: EU, NA East, and NA West. Round 1 on EU was won by a duo of 2 mobile players, Round 2 was won by a duo of console players, and then Round 3 was won by a duo of console players again. For NA East, Round 1 was won by a console duo, Round 2 was won by the same console duo, Nut and Twexy in case you're curious, but then Round 3 was won by a mobile duo. And finally, on NA West, Round 1 was won by a console duo, Round 2 was won by another console duo, but then again, Round 3 was won by a mobile duo. So if you're keeping score at home, 6 of the 9 rounds were won by console players, but of the 3 wins that mobile players got, 2 of them were Round 3 on NA East and NA West, which was when the lobbies are by far the most stacked. So I think your main takeaway from this should be that even though console players were definitely a decent amount more successful in this warm-up event, a few teams comprised of mobile players definitely prove that they can hang at the highest level of competitive play. And honestly, I saw so many overreactions on Twitter about this. I'm not gonna go and dig up specific tweets, but a lot of the PC pros were basically having a field day saying things like, LOL, console players wanted their own FNCS, and now that they actually got it, they're getting dominated by mobile players. I personally think that's a little ridiculous. Did they perform better than expected and surprise a lot of people? Yeah, definitely. But to say that they dominated is a little bit of a wild stretch in my opinion. But that doesn't really surprise me because a lot of those same players will overreact anytime a controller player has any kind of success in a major competitive event. Just saying. So here's my overall opinion of the whole console versus mobile situation. This may be a bit of an unpopular opinion, and I do expect some console players to disagree, but I actually have no problem with mobile players having some success in the competitive scene. There are 2 misconceptions about mobile players that I don't think a lot of people realize, and it gives them a little bit of a bad rep. The first is that some people think mobile players just plug a controller into their iPad to basically just play controller on 120 FPS. It may sound good in theory, but it basically isn't true at all. The input delay on mobile is apparently so insane that the extra FPS compared to console just isn't even worth it at all. The second misconception is that mobile players abuse a mobile-only feature called auto shoot. It sounds pretty crazy and scary in theory, but apparently not a single top mobile player actually even uses that feature. So because of all that, if mobile players are good enough to actually hang with the best console players while tapping an iPad with their fingers to build, shoot, and edit, then honestly, they deserve a lot of credit. Sure, them being able to get double the FPS of console is no doubt a significant advantage, but in my opinion, that's kinda needed for mobile players to even have a shot in lobbies against really good console players. Honestly, it kinda reminds me of how PC players talk about aim assist. Is it a really nice advantage when it comes to one specific category of Fortnite, aiming? Absolutely. But that advantage is pretty much totally needed because mouse and keyboard is so much better for Fortnite compared to controller. So even though I definitely think console players will continue to be much more successful than mobile players in the actual FNCS, I'm really interested to see how it ends up playing out, and I think the rivalry between the two platforms is a fun little storyline that makes these events even more interesting. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down in the comment section below. What do you think about this console versus mobile drama that's suddenly become a pretty hot issue in the Fortnite community? Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.